Okay, so welcome to the Freedom Hustles podcast. This is episode 29. My name is John Banks. I'm over at sidingcommand.com. I'm with Andy Lehman, owner of the freedomskillsacademy.com.
Hello.
And on today's episode, we've got our first guest. So this is Jo Jackson, aka Retro Girl. Is it Retro Girl Jo over on?
Yeah, hello.
Hello. So we're going to be talking about your little Kindle business that you've got going.
Yes.
Which is a great thing. I mean, Andy and I have talked about this before. A really nice kind of passive income stream. So, but first of all, if you'd like to just give us a kind of brief background as to how you got to where you are.
Yes, of course. So I started my side hustle journey about May 2017. And I started off as an eBay seller. I sort of always dabbled, but I decided to make it a proper business. But what I found with eBay is that it requires room for stock. And that is not something that I have much, if any, of. So what I found with eBay was I sort of had these dreams of really scaling up, but constantly being, thwarted, if you like, by my lack of room and all these sorts of things. So I went searching for some alternative, and the idea of passive income always was something that quite interested me. And my search basically took me to Kindle Publishing, to Amazon Kindle Publishing.
Yep.
And there are various different ways you can do it, but I came across some people who were just killing it with romance publishing in particular. And the more I looked into it, the more interesting it seemed. And so I decided to give it a go, basically. It's more aimed towards ebooks rather than physical books.
Okay.
Okay,
that's great. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thanks very much. So, I mean, I know Andy's really keen on this. He's probably chomping at the bit there to give you, ask you a few questions.
I am. Yes. I mean, I've written a few stories myself, and it's something I want to really get into. And it always sort of fascinates me. So I'll start off with it. So, I mean, you've got Kindle books live now, ready for people to buy. So how many have you got published already?
So I've got 8 in total.
Okay,
So not very many by most people's standards. 7 of those are fiction, 1 is non-fiction. Let's just forget the non-fiction because it sells nothing. But I would say that you may have come across the thing that people quite often say is that out of however many books you've got published, only 20% sell. And for me, that's sort of true. Because although I've got 8 books, I would say actually 2 of them are my just really good sellers, and a few others just sort of tick along. But yeah, so I've actually not got lots.
So out of the 7 that are not are fiction, are they they're in the romance genre? Is that right?
They are, yeah, absolutely.
Are they part of a series, or are they standalone books?
A mix, actually. So I've got 3 books that are part of a series, and the rest aren't. And what I found was people absolutely love a series, particularly in the romance genre. In the romance genre particularly, and I write sort of steamy romance, if you like. Readers, think 50 Shades of Grey. The readers are just voracious. I mean, absolutely voracious. And it's one of those genres where you'll find your readers just, if they like you, they will want to read everything you've ever written. And particularly if you've got a series, they will want to read the rest of the series. And I had written the other books first, and then the series actually was the last things that I'd actually published. And I sort of found that actually they were the most successful for me. Because it almost guaranteed that if someone liked your first book, they were going to buy the rest of the book.
We've talked about that before, I think, actually, haven't we,
Mhm.
Andy? Where
Yeah.
I think it was an episode we were talking about Kindle Publishing. I know because you've kind of got a bit of a background in this anyway. I mean, it's interesting actually because I think between the three of us, we might be using all three of Amazon's publishing platform. Then I'm a fan of the KDP, so I prefer the sort of paperback stuff. I know Andy's done Kindle, you're doing Kindle, but isn't yours? Now you'll have to clear me up on this because don't you do the one? There's like a pay per
Yeah.
page is read or something, isn't it?
Yeah. So I don't have any of my books published as paperbacks.
Okay.
And simply because it's the genre it is, most of the readers, so my target audience for a start are US readers.
Right.
It's the biggest market. It's absolutely makes sense. I write what they want essentially. And they tend to be enrolled in something called Kindle Unlimited. So romance readers in particular are, generally speaking, have Kindle Unlimited, and it means they can read as many books as they like. Think of it like the Netflix of books.
Do they pay a monthly premium then?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they pay a monthly fee. I don't know what it is in the States, but here I think it's something like $7.99 a month, something along those lines. So it's around about that figure. And yeah, they can borrow books and they can just read it. And now, as an author, I get a percentage each page they read. It is pennies, but actually, if you're getting someone reading your whole book, then you want to keep them on that reading train kind of thing. So it adds up though, because people aren't precious. They don't feel like they're parting with their hard-earned cash and thinking, oh, I've got to buy this book. Will I like it? Actually, those readers, they're like, well, I'm enrolled in Kindle Unlimited, so I can borrow what I like. If I don't like it, I just return it. So it's a win-win for them, and for me, it's a win-win. And because it is the type of genre it is, there's sort of shirtless men on the covers. People don't tend to sort of take it on the bus.
So going back to the shirtless men on the covers, you designed them yourself?
I did. I went personally looking for those shirtless men.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you publish in any genre, actually, but this one in particular, study the covers. Go to your genre on Amazon and look at what everyone else is doing. And it sounds like really boring advice, but it is so powerful, because in the genre I write in, the readers expect to see a certain type of cover. It tells them instantly this is a slightly steamy book. Whereas if it's kind of a cutesy teeny couple kind of thing, it's probably a rom-com.
Yeah. If other people are doing covers like that, then obviously it's working, isn't it? So if
absolutely.
It's for them, it's going to work for you.
It's kind of a rinse and repeat kind of a thing, really. Yeah.
So when you say that you write for the audience, does that mean then you're basically what they say, write to market? You're figuring out what they want to read, not what necessarily what you want to write.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. My best advice I could give to anyone is to write to market. And it sounds really boring, because you might think you've got a brilliant idea in your head, but actually it doesn't mean that people want to read it. And it's another one of those a kind of look at what Amazon is saying. Go to Amazon.com. The American market is the hugest market. And in your genre, whatever it may be, in my genre, it's obviously romance. Go through to the top 100, see what the common themes are. In my genre, it's billionaire romance, it's friends to lovers, it's brother's best friend. You will see the common themes and what's on trend, if you like. I had no idea there were so many billionaires out there, but apparently there are.
We've talked a bit about that as well before. Not billionaires, but I mean the kind of the research before doing anything. I mean, especially when it comes to product, a lot of the stuff we talk about on the podcast is about building assets, and and that could be in the form of, in your case, it's the form of Kindle books, but that could be in the form of other stuff, courses, YouTube channels, websites, blogs, whatever. And it obviously helps from the beginning if you know who you're writing for, and if you've got that, that there's an audience there, you kind of know their triggers and so on. But yeah, I mean,
and you get to learn sort of the language and what readers are looking for. It's not only about looking at the covers and looking at the themes, but click onto the descriptions, and actually there are certain rules that you don't realize exist. So in the romance genre, for example, cliffhangers are awful. Do not write a cliffhanger. Readers hate it. Not write a series with a cliffhanger. It's awful. So when you go into the descriptions, you'll often see the author will say no cliffhangers, and that's how popular they are. And you'll sometimes see these sort of codes, like you might see HEA or something like that. So with romance, you always have to the readers prefer a happily ever after, HEA, or a happy for now. So you kind of have to not leave it. And I said, oh, and the love of his life died. You can't do that. You've got to leave it with a happily ever after.
They want a happy ending.
Basically, yeah.
So then do you read other people's works, and do you do like research before you start to write your own book? Do you go through other people's?
Do you know what? I tried and I stopped, and I don't know why. I felt that confident with my research that I didn't, and probably possibly that isn't a good idea. And I know a lot of people in this kind of genre are voracious readers themselves, but I was very specifically writing to market. So what I like to read isn't necessarily, amazingly, controversially, what I'm writing as well. So I don't particularly enjoy reading what I'm actually writing, but and that might be an unpopular, but it's from a business point of view, it's more sensible. So yeah, it probably is a good idea to read what you're writing, but I just, I have read in the past, so I know the sorts of things they're looking for.
Do you get them proofread and all that?
Yeah, so I have to say it's sort of tailed off a bit now, but another really awesome tip I can give to people is build an email list. I can't tell you how my email list transformed my sales figures in the beginning, and also networking with other authors. What you'll find is that a lot of authors have their own email lists, and what they do is they sort of trade spots within each other's newsletters.
Nice.
So if you can get friends with another
brilliant, especially someone in the same niche. Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
And that happens quite a lot, and it took one of my books particularly to about a 4,000 sellers rank on Amazon, which on Amazon.com that is as well. That's
that's huge.
It's huge, so that is the power of having a really popular author promote you. So
and again, that's something that we preach on about. I think almost on every episode we talk about
email lists.
Honestly, once you can build up that email list, I did it from day one because I'd sort of done my research. I knew that it got to the point with my later books that I would promote it on my list. That's it. I would sell books. Like it was just a sure thing. It was brilliant. I don't actually maintain that list anymore, I must confess, because now my Kindle business just sort of ticks over in the background whilst I concentrate on other things. But but for anybody who wants to take this business seriously, that is the key. Writing to market and email list.
So you say it's ticking off nicely in the background. Are you not doing any more at the moment? You're not writing any other books at the moment?
Right. I haven't written a single thing since 2018, actually.
And they're still selling, though.
They're still selling. And last year was my best year.
Okay.
And I think what it is, I hear several. I think one thing is because I wrote to market, they are still popular themes. They will always be popular themes. People will probably continue to love billionaires for some time. But also, I think the algorithms, I've heard recently that eBay, sorry, Amazon have changed sort of how they rank people, and it gives a lot of a push to people with trusted sort of seller histories, sort of thing. And so what I found last year was that my books would sort of start rising the charts, and that would create more sales, and then that would give it another boost, and it was constantly being boosted. So one of my books got to about 15,000 in the charts again last year.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And I did nothing. I did absolutely nothing.
This is one of the things that I love about this digital sort of world, is that you've highlighted there that you've not written anything since 2018, 2021, and you're still selling books.
Yeah.
So how much would you say you're earning, if you don't mind me asking, on say like an average month?
It really, really varies. So it can be between £50 on a bad month and several £100 on a good month. Recently, for the past year, it's been around about £200 a month, which I know probably doesn't sound like a huge amount. It's not my only business. But if you think, I haven't, that's free money as far as I'm concerned.
Touched it. Yeah.
That's something you haven't written a book for like 2-3 years.
No, so. I haven't done a thing. And I personally, I find that amazing, because
have you ever thought about,
it's like a pension, isn't it? And that money, as long as those books continue to sell, that money is just going to, 10 years time, I could still be looking.
You would, almost certainly. I mean, have you ever thought about, so on that, I mean, one of the things I would consider doing, I've experimented with it. I haven't really fully, I must admit, I must do some more with it, but I used a little bit of the advertising platform on Amazon, which is actually really good. You can do a lot of targeting. You can play around with keywords, and you can be as broad or as specific as you want. And again, like you said about ranking, plays a massive part in that. Like that first page is like Google. It's like that first page that. And that there's subcategories within the category, isn't there? So romance is massive and huge, but then you've got like probably 100 different categories within romance. Because I know my book the other day, I ended up with a couple of quick sales, like that 3 or 4 sales really quickly, and then it went up the main rank, but not enough to really change things. But within one of the subcategories, I think it was like home-based business or some of that, it was on 110. And if I'd have just spent, I think I was tempted just to spend some money on ads, because then I would have got into the top 100 of that category, which, as you know, then is another whole page, literally just exclusive for top 100 stuff. And I thought then I might do that. But you could, like you say, they're there now with that money that you get. You could put aside a small part of it and just say, look, do you know what? I'm going to try and promote this one, forget about profits. And just see how far you could push it up. It might be something worth exploring.
I have experimented on occasions with it, and what I found in the beginning when I did it is that the advertising just wasn't as powerful as my email list, and it just wasn't. And promoting free, it just couldn't even touch my email list and other people's email lists. And I did try again last year when my advice would never to be, I would only promote books that are already starting to rise, generally speaking, just to give it a boost. But what I found last year is it didn't make a whole lot of difference, strangely. I don't know why. I think it's one of those things. I just thought, I'm going to switch it off. It just isn't doing any better than I thought it would. Probably down to my keywords. But
is it the ACOS? You get like an ACOS, don't you? An average cost per sale or something like that.
But a vast amount of the money I earn from publishing is actually from pages read anyway. So, and I haven't played around with the advertising recently, but it was always really hard. And certainly previously, you couldn't tell actually how many of those pages read were because of your advertising.
Right.
So I couldn't really fully see whether it was worth it for that.
Yeah, like so, it's always about testing, isn't it, with those sort of things.
Absolutely. Test.
Just a quick question then, if you don't mind, is how did you build your email list? What was, as an author, how did you go about getting that email list?
Well, several ways. Firstly, every book I have is linked together. So there are linked. So obviously there are links to other books within the book, and in the books, I invite people onto my email list. So one thing I had was a freebie. So I gave away a short book to entice people onto my list, a lead magnet, if you like. So and I found that worked really well. It was a short 10,000 word story. It cost me nothing particularly to give away, but it got people onto my list. And also I just went asking other authors. Basically, I got onto some Facebook groups. I said, look, I've got a relatively small spot, but what do you want? I'll give you the star spot on my email list newsletter if you'll feature me in yours, kind of thing. And there, to be fair, the author community, there were quite a few authors who were happy to help out. So, but there are loads of Facebook groups, where you can
give away free stories and stuff. So you said that was a 10,000 word giveaway. And what sort of length? What sort of length books are your main ones that you've got published?
Well, so Andy mentioned about sort of all the subgenres and things like that, and I perhaps took a more unusual step compared to most writers. I actually publish short length romances. So mine are typically between 20 and 25,000, which is essentially a novella, really. Because what I wanted to get them out quickly, and I sort of went for the market of people who don't have lots of times to invest in reading huge novels. And the competition was less there as well.
A bit like a Pulp Fiction style, where basically people can read them in like in one sitting, sort of thing.
Absolutely, and I think that's another reason why my series was quite well received, because actually they like one, I've got enough time to move on to the next one, kind of thing. So that worked for me. Some people prefer to publish full length novels, and of course you get, if you're on the model where you're getting money for pages read, then obviously the longer your novel, the more pages you're going to get read. But that wasn't important to me. It was volume I was after.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you can look at it that way. You can write a big book to get more pages read, or you could write 2 or 3 short ones, which will still probably equate to the same amount.
Absolutely.
And it's often easier to write a shorter story because there's less concentration and required, sort of thing.
And I'm doing this around a full-time job as well, so
that's what I was going to say. I mean, how
more important to me.
What's your kind of structure then for kind of new people starting out, listening to this, maybe thinking about writing a book? It's not one of my. I'm not. I don't claim to be a writer at all. I much prefer other kind of ways of like content, but I admire the people that do this. And how do you I mean, Andy, this is more up sort of Andy Street really, but how do you kind of build the framework of of a book, and where do you start, and do you do it all in over a week or over a month, or do you take days off and just cram it out? How do you kind of go about it?
Weekends used to be my thing. So I would have it planned. What I did towards the end was I actually hired somebody on Fiverr. I found someone I could work with and who understood what I was after, because the thing that I found most hard was plotting, and the time thinking about plotting and chapters and all that sort of thing. And so what she did is I gave her some concepts of what I wanted my story to be about. So remember, I was writing to market, so I knew what my stories had to be about. So I said, I need a friends to lovers romance, and this is how many words roughly I wanted to be, and this is how many chapters. And she would come back with a outline of however many chapters and roughly what was going to happen in each chapter. And then it would be for me to sort of join up all the dots.
No, that's really good.
If you like. And that just sped up the process hugely. And then I would, over the course of maybe a weekend, I would bang out several chapters, and I would do it over the space of perhaps a couple of weekends. And because I was writing shorter books, I was able to do that. So that just really helped. I'm a big fan of outsourcing anything that you don't love or you don't have time for.
Sounds kind of like you were your very own ghostwriter for your own stories. It's kind of, you've got someone else to plan them for you, and then you wrote them, but they planned them on your say so as well. I really like that. I really like that. It's there's lots of things here that we've talked about in several podcasts that you're doing, which is like your email list and your outsourcing. You know, it's and still the fact that you haven't written anything since 2018, but still making money each month. Yeah, that's just fantastic. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, brilliant.
Absolutely. And like I say, that is the power of writing to market and just making sure you're writing books that people will just continue to buy.
Just very quickly then, because we are kind of getting, I'm getting a bit wary of the time. So what's your kind of plans, what's your kind of plans now then for the future? Do you have any kind of plans to do more of these?
Yeah, I mean, so 2020 was a real eye-opener for me because my publishing business has been something that I've left. I still have eBay ticking over in the background a little bit, but I still have, I've changed that up. But I think making money from something that I published several years ago was really a kind of an aha moment for me, thinking, gosh, okay, I've got 8 books. What if I had 15 books? And so I still have some books unpublished on my hard drive, which is horrific. So I plan on getting those out, and perhaps reviving my email list, which I still kind of have floating in the background. I just haven't been promoting to them. I've also been working on some low and no content publishing as well, just to kind of change things up as well. And I've only recently been doing that the last couple of weeks. I'm already seeing sales for that as well. So
brilliant.
I'm just looking at constantly increasing what I've got published.
Just keep creating assets, and
absolutely digital assets.
Like you said, if you're making around £200 a month off sort of 7-8 books, what would you be doing if you had 15 or 18 published?
Absolutely.
Well, Jo, I'd love to say, I mean, some absolute amazing gold nuggets in here that you've given us tonight. It's been a real privilege to have you on.
I could chat a lot longer.
Yeah, I'm sure we all could. Yeah. So I just want to say, from me personally, thanks very much for being on. I wish you every success. I'm sure we'll chat more. I mean, we kind of chat on Instagram sometimes. But no, I mean, I really appreciate that. Andy, if you got anything closing you want to
add? Just basically, like I said, I could carry on asking questions. There's a lot to know. It's the business I want to get into more, because I've got quite a few books already written on my hard drive and I'm waiting to get published. And it's just the fact that you're still making money and you've not done anything for several years is just mind-blowing. So thank you very much for coming on. I've really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. It's been fun.
Thanks very much.